Frankie, we've got some good news, we've got some bad news, and we've got some do you believe it news. Which would you like to start with?
Just a normal day in the world of West Ham, isn't it, Geo?
Sometimes it's all the same thing all 3 times, sometimes it's good, bad, and do you believe it? But we've got separate categories here. So which one would you like to start with?
Let's go with the good news. We need a bit of good news, so let's start there.
George Earthy is back in training. He's available for selection against Newcastle if Nuno wishes. And I appreciate maybe we're scraping a battle here to some extent, but I'm all right with that. When you're down the bottom, you'll take any bit of positivity, you'll take any bit of good news. And Earthy being back in training is only a good thing. And is he good enough for Premier League? I don't know. But do you know what? I think we need a player, that type of player anyway. So hopefully he gets an opportunity. Hopefully he steps up. But I'd rather have him available than not. And do you know what? I'd have him on the bench as a minimum on Sunday, because we can have too many centre midfielders on that bench. We don't need them all. So to have someone that's just a little bit different to the other ones, I think can only be a good thing.
Yeah, I agree. And probably not the start. I'm all about the PFP right now. That's what I'm clinging on to as a way that we're going to get some better results before January comes around. But
when you said that to me, I thought it was some sort of like Saudi fund or something.
That's what it's. I think it's profile picture. I think it's short for, ain't it? So it is used. But I just, if you said to me, "Here's your bench. There's one more spot left. Do you want Guido Rodriguez or George Earthy?" It's not even a conversation for me. I've got a feeling I know whose name will be on that last spot on the bench if that's the option. But I think for anyone else, we'd want to see him just something different, just something that we just could different to what we've already got, different type of player. Even when you're sort of talking about the need for Potts to start, he's a different player to Potts, so it's nice to have that variety. I'd like to see one of them start, and I'd like to see one of them on the bench, but we'll see.
As do I. Right, more good news, bad news, or do you believe it news?
Let's do a little bit of a sandwich. So we'll chuck a bit of bad news in there for now.
All right, Mavropanos is out for 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah,
it's a bit of a blow. It is a blow, though. It is. I mean, even as a Scotland fan, that should be beneficial to me because we play Greece in international break. But I can't even enjoy that bit there. It's not really. I'm not thinking, oh well, it's just a blow. I think we thought he'd be out for a little while. It looked like a bad one when he went down with his hamstring injury, and then everything's been done and it's been revealed he'll be out for 4 to 6 weeks, which is not ideal when the centre backs are playing as they are, and you've got the options that we do with Igor, Kilman, Todibo, and I've seen people suggesting Souček as centre back, and I get why they're suggesting it because they're desperate. They don't know Souček would make as a centre back, but what they do know is they don't want to see what we've currently got. So it's just a blow. It's expected. It's unsurprising, but a blow.
Yeah, there'll be some people out there who would probably think not having Mavropanos doesn't seem like the end of the world. But when you've got as limited option as we've got, where did it ever come to the point where Mavropanos being injured was really bad news? I mean, that just tells you what sort of state our defence is in. Not so long ago, he's got too many mistakes in him, and people didn't even want to see him starting. Now we're seeing it as bad news that he's not available. So it just shows you what a mess we're in at the moment in terms of our defensive options. It feels, but what it confirms is that I think we've got to see Todibo for the foreseeable future now, which I just don't see any alternatives. It's not even like we just spoke about George Earthy, we spoke about Potts. Up top, you can speak about Marshall. You've kind of got these young players who can step in. We haven't really had a centre half who has been threatening to break into the first team. So it is literally just the options now of Todibo and Kilman, which both are massively out of form. And then we start to get to the point where people start talking about Souček, Magassa. Aaron Wan-Bissaka, anyone you think you could throw into central defence. That is certainly bad news.
Will we do the can't believe it news now, or the good news?
Yeah, let's do can't believe it, and we'll end on a positive.
Well, it's do you believe it news. An article that caught my eye last night by some riffraff called Gonzo, saying that he's got a quote from someone, and I know who it is. I'm not going to say who it is. You can work it out. It's no one that works for West Ham, but someone that's involved in the workings at West Ham sometimes. A third party, may or may not be a football agent. But the bit of the quote I want to pull out said, anyway, if he's sacked this season, he won't get a payoff. The compensation only begins from next season. That's the claims from someone who is involved in the transfer side of things when it comes to West Ham occasionally. And he's obviously referencing Nuno. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot. This isn't anything that's just happened since he come to West Ham. Before we knew he was going to be our manager, a lot of people said Harry'd almost engineered his way out of his last couple of appointments and his last couple of managerial jobs. So this was always in the back of people's minds. Is that if that wasn't the case and he'd gone through with Wolves, had been successful, maybe then got picked up by a team that's threatening or is in European football, and that's the reason why he left. And he went there and it didn't quite work out.
Well, he did. Went to Spurs. He did sort of, as much as we don't like him, that is an upgrade in terms of size of club and stuff. And it didn't work out as well. What are you laughing at?
Well, yeah. I don't know.
You're just being naughty, aren't you?
I am.
Mischievous.
I am. But, so, yeah, he kind of did. But I think a lot of people said that, you know, the way he fell out with previous ownerships and sort of really made comments that you couldn't defend the ball then sacking him. Like you would then just turn around and say, look, you had to do it because he can't come out and talk about his employers in that way. He can't come out and be against the club in that way. That's no good. So a lot of people say, you know, he really did engineer his way out of those past appointments. And yeah, is that what's in the back of people's mind? Oh, would we be having these conversations and feelings right now? Or would we just be looking and thinking he's lost the plot already? Which West Ham seems to do that to managers for whatever reason. Normally it takes a lot longer, but we do tend to end up causing managers to have complete breakdowns and to lose the plot. So I don't know. It feels weird. I still can't understand how anyone can watch what we watched on Monday and then pretty much repeat it again. I mean, it just, and we was talking all week going, well, that can't be rolled out for a second time. And it was. So you get why people are saying it. But I also, Geo, think the man's got plenty of money in the bank. It was the same with Potter. Potter, did he need West Ham? Did he need to go back into football? He made such a huge amount of money from his time at Chelsea. So money's not the driving factor. I just think it looks bad. If he comes in, he realises that he's bitten off a bit more than he can chew, or that it's just an impossible task, Gio. Let's be honest. And I said this the other night. At points, I know some people are turning around saying, oh, players have got to take a lot of the blame. Other than maybe Todibo and Kilman, the rest of the team, I think, were given 100%, but they just weren't good enough. So you can't work miracles. If you've got a team that just ain't good enough, then what do you do? And if they're not going to support you, if they're not going to back you, and let's be quite honest, I would be very shocked, or it'd be even more concerning if they weren't having conversations now about January. That conversation has to be happening right 100%. Now. He must be sitting down with them saying, look, these are the type of profile player I need. These are the positions that I need. Let's get everything ready for when that January transfer window opens. If he's not getting the right signals back and he doesn't believe he's going to get backed, forget the money. I just think if he's to walk away and he's to throw his toys out of his pram again, it just makes him look so volatile, makes him look like such a pest and such a nuisance that I think if you're looking for your next manager, if you're sitting down and discussing the characters or, who's the right man for the job, it would crop up and you would start to think, well, the last few roles he's been too outspoken with regards to the ownership and he's caused aggro and problems there. He's then gone to West Ham and after 5 minutes, he's decided to walk out because he can't do the job. It don't look great.
Yeah.
So I actually think him being sacked right now, and this is the thing, Joe. If he walks, I think it don't look good. I think if he gets sacked, I think everyone will just say, well, he had an impossible task.
Yeah.
I don't think people will knock him.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that, actually. I think there's a lot of criticism for West Ham United as a football club now from the mainstream media. They've turned. We had to drop into the bottom three for it to happen. But it's happening now. They're discussing about how bad West Ham are at the minute. So if he was to sort of fail, I think it would be put at the door of others rather than Nuno himself. And I agree with what you're saying. I think the most sort of likely explanation behind the team selection, one of the subscribers said it. I need to get a board and start writing down subscribers' names and what they say, because I refer to them quite often. I would like to attribute said quote to the subscriber. But he basically just said, do you think he just thought Monday night I got it right? The players just didn't do their job. So I'm going to do it again on Friday against Leeds. I think that is the most likely thing. That is just the most likely explanation. However, I still think it's bonkers. I still think it was bonkers to have the attitude of, oh, it would have worked if the players' attitudes were correct. There was no way that was going to work. The Scarles thing and then the Irvin and Souček thing, it was never going to work the first time. But to repeat it is just incredible. And I think the fact that everybody is so surprised at what he did against Leeds, that is what's leading to people coming up with their own theories as to why he's doing it. So when people say, oh, I think he's trying to get the sack, I mean, people were saying it after the Brentford game. And I thought, nah, no chance. And I did a video with you, and I genuinely meant this. There is no way he's playing Andy Irving again. There's no way he's playing all his cards at right back. He can't do it. Why would he do it? It would just be stupid. And he did it again. So it does make you think, well, why has he done that then? Because it felt really obvious to everyone that was a big mistake. And doing those subs at halftime would suggest he thought it was a mistake as well, but he then repeated the same error. So it does make you think, well, what's he doing? Why is he doing this? And it does, like you said, because of his previous and very recent history, it does make you go back and go, is he doing this again? Because I think where I am with Nuno, it's a bit like where I was with Lopetegui. When we hired Lopetegui, regardless of what I thought of him as a manager and how he would perform, I felt quite confident he would leave before his contract was up, that he'd get unhappy. I mean, he left Wolves because he did those interviews with his Spanish journal mate and stuff like that, calling out the club and whatever when he's still in the job. So, and it's the same with Nuno. When we hired him, he got a 2.5-year deal. I was like, well, he's not going to see that probably. It'll be this season and next season, and then he's probably going to want out. Because history tells us that that's usually what he does. He doesn't really stay there that long. But surely not now. And I think because a lot of people expect Nuno to eventually go a little bit sour at West Ham and leave. It's just a case of, is it happening already? Is this what's happening? But actually, I think the subscribers' theory is probably the correct one, which was he tried something on Monday and he thought, actually, I never made a mistake. The players didn't do what I was asking. And had they done it, it would have worked. So I'm going to do it again on Friday. But it's not worked twice now. And due to said injury of Ollie Scarles, a bit of an improvement when he went off, a bit of an improvement in the second half, a bit of an improvement once the midfield was changed. You can't really ignore that. The one thing I will give him in his favour is that when he made the changes against Brentford, nothing improved. He took Scarles off the pitch. We didn't get any better. We went to a back three. It didn't get any better. He changed the midfield, albeit not the ones we want to see, brought Rodriguez on. it didn't get any better. Marshall was on the pitch. Nothing improved. No changes he made against Brentford made the team improve. So I think when he came away from that game, I think he'd be right in thinking, well, there's nothing really to take away that was positive. But with Leeds, actually, you can come away saying, do you know what? Potts was good. Fernandez was good. Magassa looked all right. Walker-Peters looked all right. We were probably better with a striker on the pitch. There's actually a few learnings for them there to take away going into the one against Newcastle. In regards to the actual story, the claim from the person we shall not name, whose initials may be BS, do you believe it? Do you believe the claim?
I mean, it would be West Ham doing something right for a change, to be perfectly honest, wouldn't it?
So therefore, no, we don't believe it.
That's exactly right. It's hard to believe because you just think, well, that would make total sense from making the appointment, learning from our mistakes, making sure there's something in there where we don't get caught out again. But not being given a payout within that first time frame, not giving him this doesn't sound like Nuno to me. So I don't know what's going on. Very odd.
I don't believe any of it. I'll tell you what you can believe, though. You can believe we're going to give you 8 free beers. You can believe that because we're going to do it. If you go to beer52, beer52.com/hammers, you can grab 8 free beers. Plus, get 2 tasty snacks as well. I think they're tasty. I've not opened them yet, but I am going to be opening these soon. Look at them, Frankie. They look a bit of me. They do. They do look like a bit of me. I'm looking forward to tucking into them. And you get the Ferment magazine as well. All you got to do is pay the postage. £5.95. You pay the postage, and you'll get the 8 beers delivered out to you as well. And it's easy. If you want to pause or cancel at any point, you can. Plus, if you're not keen on your dark beers, you can select the light beers option instead. Just go to the link and then click that you want to claim your free box. And it will ask you if you want the set of normal beers, the mixed beers, or if you want the light beers. You can just select that one instead, get delivered to your house, and you can kick back and enjoy 8 lovely beers. Plus, if you retain your membership with Beer 52, they will not send you the same beer twice. So next month you'll get a completely different set of beers for you to try. So that's beer52.com/hammers. Link is in the description below. But I'll tell you what I don't believe, Frankie. You ready?
Go for it. That
bloody claim. I'm not having it. Not having it at all. When I seen it, that we could sack Nuno, we wouldn't have to pay compensation. No chance. And it's not even a reflection. I get your opinion, the reflection of West Ham. It would be doing the wise thing, and it would be doing the wise thing. But why on earth would Nuno sign a contract like that? Why would any manager sign a contract like that? Say, hey, come to us. We're probably going to get relegated, and you come. But if it looks like we are going to get relegated with a couple of games to go, we can sack you, and there's no compensation. No chance. He's not putting his name to that. Nuno's stock, whilst he has upset a few people and whatever, let's be very clear about this. Whilst people's opinions about our owners isn't great, and that's good, other people's away from Nottingham Forest, people's opinions on the Nottingham Forest owner isn't great either. He's seen as a bit of a head case. He's seen as a little bit of a nutter in football. So when Nuno left Forest, it wasn't like the mainstream media, if you like, were pointing the finger at Nuno, going, ungrateful, bad man, look what he's done. That wasn't really going on, if anything. It was that the Nottingham Forest owner saying, what are you doing? That guy got you 7th in the league last season. What are you doing? So Nuno's stock was high when he left Nottingham Forest. He shouldn't have been desperate for a job. He would have got a other Premier League job eventually, had he not taken the West Ham one, whichever one comes up next. Ironically, it was the Nottingham Forest one again, but the one after that, right? The Wolves job may come up. Another one of his former clubs that might come up soon with Pereira. He could have that one if he possibly wanted. He did not need to take the West Ham job, but he did. I'm glad he did. But there is no way in hell he would have signed that contract with no compensation. All we have to do is go back to what we've just discussed with what Nuno has done at previous clubs, and it all involves getting sacked and getting paid. So why would you come to West Ham and risk getting sacked with no compensation whatsoever. It would have been a ridiculously silly thing for him to do. Now, there might be, right? I'm not saying I believe there's no clause. There may be a clause that if we get relegated, we can sack him with no compensation. That might be there. I think that would be a believable thing. And I would expect Nuno to sign that as well. Because if Nuno said, I ain't signing that, I said, why not? You plan on getting us relegated? Do you think you're not capable of oh, no, I can keep you up then? Well, sign it then. If you're good enough, you'll keep us up. You won't have an issue getting sacked with no compensation. So, yeah, I ain't believing that claim last night from a football agent. Not believing it whatsoever. Because if that was there, this lot would start crapping themselves pretty soon as well. Oh my God, do we go get another manager? Brendan Rodgers is available now. Sullivan's always like Brendan Rodgers. He'd be thinking, oh, now I can go get the guy that I actually quite like. I wasn't keen on Potter, so on Nuno. Loved Lopetegui, but now there's a guy that I've really liked here. It's almost like the modern Rafa Benitez for David Sullivan, just a manager he admires and loves. There he is. He's free now. Now I can get him in. So I ain't having that claim whatsoever. It's a big no from me. Anything else you'd like to add to that topic, Frankie? Or we'd like some good news?
Good news. Come on. We need it.
You'd like a bit of this. I know you've seen it, right? Kanté signed a new deal. A big one as well, 6-year deal. That's a big contract to hand a youngster.
Yeah, it is. But like I said, Geo, like when you watch that, I've heard so many calls for Fearon again, loads. And I watch him and I think, yeah, you got bags of potential and you look like a really good young player. But I don't look at him and go, you're Premier League ready.
Yeah.
There's nothing about it. Do I see that and go, yes, you absolutely, I can see it. But Kanté, I do. I do see it as ready. Like I said, the only thing that I'm hesitant with at the moment is because, like you said, sloppy passing, little bit lazy tendencies. That intensity's got to increase. He's got to be a bit sharper about what he does. I actually don't think we're ever going to get rid of all of that. I think that's just the type of player he is. And when you get those quite tall, athletic players that are in the same sort of build as him, the Kouyates, the Diamis, those sorts of players, they always have that little, I don't know whether it's just they look like they're a little bit lethargic in the way they do things, or whether that's just how it seems.
They do look clunky. It's even Peter Crouch, weren't it? Even when he got the ball, it looked a little bit unnatural watching him with the ball on the deck with his skinny, gangly legs.
Yeah, but what tells in those, and it isn't the only factor, but because plenty have done this and then not made it. Why I liked Liam Delap so much and always felt he would go on is because he was breaking goal scoring records at that level. There have been plenty of players who have done that, and then you think you're standing out here. You know, Kanté come in, scored 4 in 5 games from midfield. Now that's a big stat for somebody who comes in to a new country, hasn't even settled in yet, gets thrown straight out there and scores 4 goals in 5 games. He's affecting football matches at that level immediately. So that tells you that he's got something. I know Fearon's bagged the couple here and there, but I'm talking about someone who's literally been plucked from France, comes over, gets thrown in at the deep end, hasn't even had any time to settle, and immediately has an impact. So, look, I feel like he's physically ready for the Premier League. He looks big, he looks strong, he looks like he can hold himself on the ball. He's positive, he goes forward. Everything that you want to see from a youngster to suggest actually this he's kind of. And I've got to be honest, if we just spoke about George Earthy, you know how much I've believed in George Earthy. The only reason I wouldn't be throwing Kanté in that mix at the moment is because I think Potts is even more ready than he is. And I think by putting Kanté in there, I think he's slightly more progressive than Potts. He is more of an 8 than the role that Potts plays.
100%.
It's not too drastically different. Whereas I think Earthy gives you something totally different to what Potts is. So on that basis, I think for balance on the bench, Potts and Earthy seems to make more sense than a Potts and Kanté. And I think Potts is, I actually think he is ready for that step up, because he's just, we've actually done everything right with Potts and his progression, and the loan moves have been good. Earthy's loan move was unfortunate. Earthy may have had that positive loan move by going to Bristol City, because they were a club on the up. They were a club who had a positive feel-good factor around them at that time. But unfortunately, it didn't quite go right for him. We've had some others that have gone out and had a tough time, not really featured and whatever else. So, yeah, I think for me, it's a good move. And I think if we don't do that, plenty of people would start sniffing around him. As we start playing more teams and he stands out, it only needs like we've seen with Mubama or players like that, it only needs one of the big boys to come knocking on the door and say, come on, we'll give you a big contract, and out the door they go. So I think we've done exactly the right thing, and I think we've picked the right player to back here, to be honest.
We'll get to see him tonight, the EFL Trophy tonight. I'm hoping to tune in. I'll be in Scotland when the game's on, so I'm hoping that I can. It's on Sky, so I'll have access to it via my device. I'm just hoping that Mrs. Geo won't mind too much. She's still driving around Scotland. I'm just there on my phone watching West Ham under-21s in the EFL Trophy, so we'll get a good look of him tonight. The thing is, though, I'd have him on the bench on Sunday. Ultimately, if you're going to put Earthy and Kanté in that squad, hypothetically, two's got to come out. I don't think anyone would say no if some might, but if I suggested that Rodriguez and Irving come out, would anyone be upset? Would anyone say, oh no, that's the wrong thing to do? I'm all up for that. I think that would be, at the end of the day, we don't know if Earthy and Kanté can do it in the Premier League. We don't know. They might be able to, they might not be able to. But I feel quite comfortable saying Andy Irving can't or won't do it in the Premier League. So you've got a player that you don't know if he's good enough for this level, but you've also got a player that you're pretty confident isn't good enough for this level. Which one do you go with? I think it's better to go with the unknown at this point, because he may step up. It's a big ask, but we are in a desperate situation. Let's not pretend that we are Bournemouth sitting second in league right now. Everything's rosy. So the young lad, sorry, mate, you're not getting in. I mean, speaking of Bournemouth, an 18-year-old at centre-back and an 18-year-old up front and beat Nottingham Forest, right? So they've got, granted, two players, they spent big money and brought them in. It wasn't players that come through the academy or nothing. But if we're looking at, age or experience, well, Bournemouth are saying, don't worry about it here. We're all right to put the youngsters in. But we are in a desperate situation. And when you're in one of those, sometimes you've got to make big calls and calls that you perhaps wouldn't make otherwise, because you're desperate. Kanté, Earthy on the bench on Sunday. I hope they both start tonight. I think I'll be interested to see if Earthy starts tonight, because it's a really good opportunity to get minutes under his belt. I think this would be a good game to play him. Kanté, I would be surprised if he doesn't play. Maybe put Callum Marshall up front as well, try and get him a goal, get him a bit of confidence ahead of the game against Newcastle. I don't think he'll start against Newcastle, but if he can score tonight in a good competition, that's helpful. We need positivity right now, and hopefully those boys can grab it tonight. Anything you wish to add, Frankie, before we wrap it up for another week?
No, nothing at all. The only thing that I said, I think people haven't necessarily focused on, one more little bit of positivity and good news. I watched that Newcastle game the other night, and I actually think our wide players can get at their fullbacks. I think I have these feelings every now and then, Geo, don't I? This what I do, where I go, and I fancy us. West Ham beat Newcastle.
I can't see it. I hope you're right. I watched the game as well against Fulham, and they play against Spurs tomorrow night in the Carabao Cup, EFL Cup, the football. What's it? League Cup. That's it. Bloody, I couldn't get my words out there. They play Spurs in the League Cup tomorrow night on Wednesday, so they've got the fixture, and we'll get another look at them as well. But I can't share your optimism, I'm afraid, Frankie. I hope you're right. I'd love to sit here next week and you can brag as much as you want, but I don't know. I think
Bowen definitely scores. There's no question about that. He might even get 2. I just think that's a certainty. And I just think we beat him. I
think Murphy and Mohamadou are also both scoring. That's the problem because they don't play for us. But anyway, we will catch up with you in a bit. Frankie, thank you so much. Pleasure as always. And this is the last time I'm going to say it, but thank you for the watch along and the review and the debrief show. It was a pleasure. I didn't join you, but it was nice to be able to get pissed at the wedding knowing that you were doing the videos for me. So thank you very much. And you guys at home, thank you as well. If you've enjoyed this podcast, you must have enjoyed it enough because you made it over half an hour long. Please do drop a like on it before you disappear. Scouting Hammers chatting. You fancy grabbing yourself 8 free beers, go to beer52, beer52.com/hammers. Myself and Frankie, catch you in a bit.